This is a Fox News alert. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Tantaros. Moments ago, President Obama wrapped up remarks at an unexpected afternoon appearance in the White House briefing room. He addressed the crisis involving ISIS in Iraq, along with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He also took questions. And we'll get to his remarks on Russia a little bit later. But first, the ISIS threat. The president said our military is continuing to carry out targeted strikes to protect Americans in Iraq and to address the humanitarian situation on the ground there. Now, he thinks the U.S. will be successful in conquering this growing terror network, but admits it will take time.
As Commander-in-Chief, I will always do what is necessary to protect the American people and defend against evolving threats to our homeland. Because of our strikes, the terrorists of ISIL are losing arms and equipment. Rooting out a cancer like ISIL will not be quick or easy, but I'm confident that we can and we will.
Okay, so the headline that really jumped out at me, Kimberly, was the headline that said, with regard to ISIS, we have no strategy.
Who wrote that? Can somebody get fired before the end of the week? This is what I don't get. I mean, does he understand how bad that sounds and how good it sounds to the ears of our enemies? A president that has no strategy. Well, at least he's being transparent because he just told the truth.
But how do we know? Finally, maybe he's learning. He's tricking them. He's saying we don't have a strategy, and they're going, aha, and then he just unleashes hell. I doubt it, though. I'm just hoping that President Obama is learning that the world is a scary place, that with radical Islam, if you extend a hand, you get a stump in return. And so maybe he's being clever. However, I know I'm wrong.
Right.
I know I'm wrong.
Because you freaked me out for a second.
Okay, how do I say it in a very nice way?
No, I was hoping
You're
for
wrong.
Yes, I'm saying that I hope he's being clever, but I'm probably wrong.
What we failed to mention, which is sort of remarkable, is that he also mentioned that there was going to be a meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff about the regional effort. What he's saying here is Syria, and they will be in, I'll wager you anything, we'll be bombing in Syria next week. Also, the Saudis are now in a terrible situation internally. I read a book last night on Wahhabism, that the princes are all divided because they're scared to take them on. Half of them, the other half want to take them on, and they will.
Bob, can I beckle you and say what you said while we were sitting next to each other getting our hair and makeup done when you were watching this press conference? You looked at me and you said, he knows he's in trouble.
Oh, yeah, sure. The thing that bothers me about this is a lot of this stuff should have been done before, right? I mean, but so we wait now. We hear it all at one time. You know, he led with the economic news, which, of course, we won't broadcast, but the fact is that this should have been done before. Absolutely.
Eric, how many years has the intelligence community been warning this administration about ISIL? We saw that report last night that broke that Fox News got exclusively from West Point saying we've known about this growing threat. 4 years, President Obama still walks out to the podium and admits, whether he has one or not, that he has no strategy.
So I'm scratching my head. What was that all about? So we heard earlier today President Obama is going to make a big announcement. He's going to have a meeting with his National Security Council. He's going to do this discussion at 4 o'clock. Everyone's like, oh, my God, you know what they're going to say? He's going to say, we've already started bombing in Syria, which is what he should have done. But instead he came out and said, we don't have at this point, we don't have an ISIS strategy right now. Are you kidding me? What was the point of that? The only thing I can possibly think of the point was he needed to get on record that he went to make an address, asked the question from Chuck Todd after he patted him on the back, Chuck asked him a softball question, and now he can go do his 3 fundraisers this weekend and the wedding that he's going to attend. While Rome is burning, he's golfing, fundraising, and going to weddings. It's atrocious. And the lapdog media, who now half of them work for him in the administration, it doesn't have the guts to say, hey, President Obama, what is the point of that press conference? Bob, what did you learn today that you didn't know yesterday?
What I learned today was that the intelligence guys who say they knew about ISIL are lying. You are liars. You're covering your ass. In 4 years,
well, how did you learn that from there?
Huh?
What did you learn?
I just learned that from Andrea.
Right. So
if anybody says for 4 years,
you're better off watching the 5 than listening to President Obama at a press
Why would you assume that they're lying? That they're making this up to what?
For 4 years, they knew about ISIS?
Oh, to make the president look bad? The president they work for? I mean, come on.
Sure.
Come on.
You really think they knew about it for 4 years?
Oh, I do believe it. I believe that this group.
Let me give you a book to read. I just read a book last night. This thing started in 1760. ISIS. And it's never mind.
Okay. Well, the threat of radical Islam has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And our own Sean Hannity decided to take the debate, finally had the guts to take the debate on this news channel with a very, very prominent imam. Take a listen.
And I don't want your Sharia law, and neither does anybody in Great Britain that has a brain.
You will have no choice, in fact, Sean. It's coming to a place near you. It's coming to a place near you.
You want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
Of course we do. You will be liberated from the shackles of man-made law. Let me tell you something.
I don't need to be liberated by Islam. I'm a Christian. I don't want your religion. I don't want Sharia. I believe in women's rights. I believe in freedom. Your version of morality is cutting people's heads off you don't agree with. You support murder. You support terror. You supported bin Laden.
Which is self-defense, apparently.
You support evil, and I don't.
In your world, killing children in Gaza, it's self-defense, isn't it?
You know, I notice that this happens often. Rather than talk about all the people that have been murdered at the hands of radical Islamic jihadism, they deflect. And they start to point to other things. And they say, oh, what Mr. Hannity was in self-defense. Self-defense? I mean, they really do think that they're fighting for not just a holy war, but they do think that we have provoked them to behave this way.
In that bell curve of religious fundamentalism, radical Islam is still right about here. And, you know, we're all over here now, and we're just waiting for them to catch up. Why don't they ever champion the ideology? I mean, he is the champion of a radical ideology, but he doesn't champion it. When his questions are asked about what he believes in, the harsher elements, he always denies it. It's an ideology where you can't say what you believe because it's so crazy. And it also is an ideology that claims ownership of the universal truths. So there is no debate unless the podium is a guillotine, because every debate ends in death.
And Kimberly, this administration has gone out of its way to try and be nice, to try and give speeches like the one in Cairo. If we compliment them enough, maybe the radicals will stop killing us. Shared history of tolerance. I mean, Bob talks about the book that he read. Wahhabism has been around, this anti-Western philosophy. It's why we can't really trust the Saudis for a very, very long time. I've studied this in depth, Bob. So do you think the administration finally is going to be willing, Kimberly, to at least acknowledge the threat of radical Islam?
I mean, look, it's been thrust onto their doorstep. They're going to have to deal with it. They cannot avoid the news. They cannot avoid the world events. They cannot avoid the turmoil that has been created by their foreign policy of appeasement. I mean, honest to God, what's next? Let's send them some Girl Scout cookies and try to get them to be friendlier or kinder.
Bob,
I mean, I don't
Bob,
think this is
you
a
got to
good
say
policy.
something because your head's about to explode.
What's wrong, Bob?
It's just so.
Do you think they've handled this well? Do you think that they?
No, I don't. Do I think I said that? But you don't start saying if the President of the United States is practicing appeasement that he's this. Never mind. Go ahead.
Sure he is. He invited the Muslim Brotherhood multiple times to the White House.
Say he's raising money and playing golf.
If you're going to say that, you need to deal with the facts. This is a president that has welcomed the Muslim Brotherhood to the White House. He had them at his Cairo speech. He has complimented them, gone out of their way in the hopes.
I understand that.
In the hopes that they will stop cutting our heads off.
No, but this has nothing to do with. You realize that ISIS did away with the Muslim Brotherhood 200 years ago?
They won't. The Muslim Brotherhood,
yes, the ones that reincarnated. That's right.
Did anyone pass the Muslim Brotherhood the memo?
Same Muslim Brotherhood that gave birth to Al-Qaeda?
They also the present Saudi kingdom was also knocked out in the early 1900s.
Okay, we all agree we need to do something.
I know, but I'd love to weigh in on this. Well, one thing we learned in that extensive interview last night is that Imam Chowdhury twice said, Sharia is coming to an area near you. Now, the scary part, I mean, you look at that and you go, wow, that's scary, unless it becomes really scary when he already knows that they're already here. And what we found is that in Minnesota alone, this little area of Minnesota, there's a place called Little Somalia, they're radicalizing our young men right now.
Three now from the same hometown.
Three from the same town, two from the same high school, and so he probably does know. He knows that they're radicalizing American jihadists right now, and that's why that was so scary.
So I've been thinking about that, and remember I had that Solution to Terror Abroad program where we actively sponsor American extremists who travel to terror zones, and then when they get there, we kill them? A carpool lane. So if a terrorist can actually convince two other extremists to go with them, they all get to travel for free.
Oh, like the high occupancy vehicle,
exactly.
the HOV lane.
It's an HOV lane for
It's like
terrorists.
a family plan, like the cell phone companies offer.
Exactly. And then when they land, we just drone that crap out of them.
It's a high occupancy terrorist lane.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
I'm all for it. I mean, immediately.
And then there's like a big hole in the road about a mile up.
Exactly.
No speed limit.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, There has been quite the amount of criticism, Eric, from a number of different people on Obama's lack of leadership. Take a listen to the past couple of weeks weighing in on President Obama and how he's handled this crisis.
Nobody knows what this president is going to do. By all accounts, he has no strategy. He hasn't had a strategy in the region basically since the beginning of the administration.
What he really needs to do is come to Congress with a strategy, with policies that implement the strategy. Does anyone on earth know what the president's strategy is?
The idea that we have to wait for an invitation, what is this, a wedding? This is war.
Our fear here is that this notion that if we just don't do anything, everything is going to be okay, is going to continue. This is as dangerous a threat matrix as I have ever seen.
Okay, this was the criticism leading up to the press conference the president just gave, and instead of responding...
What did he say?
He said, well, we don't have a strategy. But don't worry, because there's some guy in the White House who's working on a plan that I guess is going to turn it in tomorrow before the end of the day, and he can take it on Air Force One and review it. No pressure, buddy.
Well, look, we talked about it yesterday, the bipolar, schizophrenic strategy. One side says they're terror, and it's really, really important. It's going to happen here in America. And the other side says, don't worry about it, coming from the Intel Department or the White House, depending on who you're listening to. My point is, again, as I made earlier, Bob, what was the point of the press conference?
Well,
to tell us that they're still bifurcated, they still don't have a clue, they still don't have a strategy.
Well, let me just say a couple of things you also said, which I think were important, and that is that ISIS has been driven down now by both the Kurds and finally by some parts of the Iraqi army. They are not making any ground up. They will probably have the Saudis join them shortly for a lot of reasons, and I think that ISIS finally, as a unit, has been stopped on geographically picking up more land. I think that's a good thing all the way around. And also, can somebody get me the press?
I don't.
The transcript of what he said about no strategy.
How can you say that ISIS has been stopped?
I can't.
And why would you hold a press conference? Because to me, it seemed like it was a box-checking activity before he left town.
Yeah, and listen, I would love if he was doing what Greg said, and he's actually masterminding behind the scene. What I do think is we're going to send contractors in, because let me tell you something. That's how this is going to get done.
Show me one model that ISIS has taken in the last week. Just show me.
You know who I feel bad for out of all of this?
How about 2 airports?
Go ahead. I feel bad for Al-Qaeda. They're like the neglected gal pal now that your buddy has a new girlfriend, and it's like, what does ISIS have that I don't? So now they're at the gym and they're taking cooking classes, because now they're saying we're going to start bombing because what happened to us?
Pay attention to us. Poor Al-Qaeda, always the bridesmaid.
Yeah. Well, they actually released an American Al-Qaeda recently. So, and by the way,
they want to bomb malls.
Gone away. Tripoli fell this week in Libya. That was a really good idea, by the way, to get rid of Gaddafi.
Since in Iraq, contrary to what we just heard here, since they took the dam back, 2 towns have been taken. The airports were taken 3 weeks ago. They will be taken back.
Can you say in good conscience, actually, that you think now this threat is eliminated?
No, of course not. But I think that they're no longer going to take over Iraq.
Bob, they're still controlling somewhere around 100,000 barrels of oil a day. They're
getting
$4 million
a day.
Almost $2 billion in assets in their coffers. They ain't going. They're no small little terrorists.
And private donations from wealthy individuals.
I couldn't agree more.
Believe me, they have a solid cause that people are getting behind.
The oil wells that they're getting, it will be taken back from them within a week.
Next on the 5.